going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now.
Jimothy.
Now, ladies and gents, I thought I would bring to you yet another deck profile, something a little bit out of the norm and something very roguish, and that deck is Dream Mirrors. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into the profile. So starting us off, we have triple Dream Mirror Aikilos, the Dream Mirror Sprite. Now, the reason why I like this deck, mainly because of the artwork, but also because it's got an interesting mechanic. So it relies heavily on the field spell, which I'll talk about when I get to it. But all of the Dream Mirror monsters have the ability to tribute themselves in order to activate various effects and special summon their Dream Mirror counterpart from the deck, which is really useful. And once they're summoned by a Dream Mirror monster, they have various effects. So what Aikilos allows you to do is basically search any card in your deck. This is the rotor for the deck, whether it be spells, traps, monsters. This is the thing that you want to get into rotation as early as possible, hence why we are maxing out on Aikilos, the Dream Mirror Sprite. Next up, we are playing her dark counterpart, which is Aikilos, the Dream Mirror Mara. Now what Mara allows you to do is special summon a Dream Mirror monster from your hand when she's special summoned via a Dream Mirror monster. So she can get out some of your bigger Dream Mirror level 8s, which can kind of like unbrick your hand basically and just be able to just pop off with plays. It does take a little while to get your engine going, but once it's in circulation, it works pretty well. So triple Aikilos, Dream Mirror Mara. Next up, we are maxing out on the dog, aka Phantazos, the Dream Mirror friend. So basically what he does when he special summons via a Dream Mirror monster, he can special summon a Dream Mirror monster from your graveyard. Now you do fill up your graveyard pretty quickly, especially if you're activating the effects of both your opponent and your turn, because of, all of their effects are quick effects basically. So you do fill up your graveyard pretty quickly. So being able to go into him, especially mid to late game, it allows you to just recur some advantage. So I've decided to max out on him. Also, he's a level 4 as well. Next up, we're playing his counterpart, double. I'm not playing 3 of him. Phantazos, the Dream Mirror foe. So basically what he allows you to do is attack directly when he is summoned via a monster. Not the best effect, to be honest, but because he's a level 4 and because he can be easily special summoned or normal summoned, I've decided to go with him at 2. You can get him out the graveyard typically with friend. So that's basically the play, and it's just to be able to enable a couple of rank 4 plays that we've got in the deck. Next up, for some of the bigger Dream Mirror monsters, we're running double Morpheus, the Dream Mirror Black Knight. So Morpheus basically allows you to pop a card on summon. So this is one of your forms of interruption basically. He's quite aggressive as well, 2800 attack, and it can get a little bit bigger than that with some of the other cards that we play in the deck. So double Dream Mirror Morpheus, the Black Knight. And we're also playing a single copy of Morpheus, the Dream Mirror White Knight. So he's more of a defensive card. So when he's summoned, he can't be destroyed by card effects. He's got 2800 defense. I believe he can't be targeted as well, or something along those lines. But either way, he just literally sits on field and tries to buy you a turn basically, because he's got a really big defense. Not the most not the best card to progress your game state, but it's useful nonetheless, especially if you want to tag out into him. And we're also playing one of the newer cards that was recently released. I believe it was a Blazing Vortex, I believe. We've got one Neroid, the Dream Mirror Disciple. Now, we haven't got a dark counterpart for him, which is interesting, because I believe they're going to at least release the dark counterpart for him, which should prove to be quite interesting. But this is a free special summon if you control a Dream Mirror monster. It can be also treated as a dark attribute whilst on the field, which is really useful, especially with our fusion plays. And also it can kind of just recycle or fix your hand basically. But I'm only running it at 1. One reason is because it doesn't have a counterpart, and also it's just a nice easy special summon. But you want to see some of your other cards instead of seeing it, hence why I'm only running it at 1. Now, on top of the Dream Mirrors, I've decided to put a small Chaos engine. So I've gone with the White Dragon Wyvern Buster and the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. This is just easy plays, being able to get a rank 4 on field, and also just to be able to attack over any smaller monsters I might come across. Also, especially with Chaos Space in the deck, which I have got, it allows you to just kind of like loop these for a couple of turns. So yeah, the Black and White Dragons. I'm also playing one the Chaos Creator. This card is fantastic. Special summon one of your banished monsters as well as put the rest back into your deck. So again, this can loop your baby dragons, and it can also loop this guy right here, Chaos Daedalus. This is probably one of the only decks that makes the most use out of this card, because you typically end up with 2 field spells, one on your side and one on your opponent's side, that obviously are both owned by yourself. So having Chaos Daedalus on field allows your light and dark monsters to not be targeted, and you can also banish up to 2 cards per turn, or equal to the number of field spells that are in circulation. So if there are 2 field spells on the field, Chaos Daedalus can banish 2 cards on the field, which is super useful. If you get this out and you get the right setup, you can just snowball so much advantage. So yeah, 1 Chaos Daedalus and 1 the Chaos Creator. And finally, we have 1 Darkest Diabolos, Lord of the Lair. Now, if you did not know, ladies and gents, all the Dream Mirror monsters actually tribute themselves. So having him anywhere on field or in grave or in your hand, just being able to jump out at a moment's notice and just basically disrupt plays is just fantastic. So 1 Darkest Diabolos, it's a nice little tech in here. It's a bit sacky because it's at a 1, but if you do see it, you can actually send it to the grave off Chaos Space and then activate one of your Dream Mirror monsters and then get him back onto the field. It's a nice feeling. Next up for hand traps, we're only running 1 hand trap at the moment. I do have a Veiler, but because this is a bit of a rogue deck, I decided just to go with a Gamma. The reason I've gone with the Gamma and the Driver package is mainly because a lot of your Dream Mirror monsters tribute themselves as cost, so you typically end up with no monsters on the field, especially when you start your plays off. But yeah, so obviously you can activate Cypherame Gamma if they're trying to chain Ash onto one of your Dream Mirror monsters, and it just allows you to just obviously negate that and then go into some synchro plays actually. So just the Driver and Gamma package. Next up, ladies and gents, we are onto the spells, and we are playing 1 Terraforming, triple Dream Mirror of Joy, and triple Dream Mirror of Terror. Now this is basically what the field spell works with. So you've got a light and dark field spell, and they have corresponding attributes. The dark one allows you to burn your opponent for 300 if you control a dark Dream Mirror monster, and the light one allows your opponent can only target the Dream Mirror monster with the highest attack, and it's your choice if tied. Also at the end phase, they can banish themselves and then activate the corresponding field spell straight from your deck. So if you've got the white one on field during the end phase, you can banish the white one straight from the field zone and then activate the dark one. You do kind of want to do this at least once just to kind of like filter them out of the deck, because there's 7 cards in here which you field spells, and you kind of need to see them and have them in rotation. But on the other hand, once you've got an established game state, you don't want them to be in your deck. So it does take a little bit of skill being able to decide when to banish them and when to just leave them on field. But basically, once you've got the setup with 2 of them, 1 of them on your field or 1 of them on your opponent's field, you typically can just play like that. So yeah. Next we have triple Dream Mirror Phantasms. This is a really interesting card. So upon activation, you can add a Dream Mirror monster from your deck to your hand, so increasing the consistency. Also, whilst Terror is on the field, I believe your opponent loses life points, and whilst Joy is on the field spells I'm talking about, your monsters gain 500 attack and defense. So if you've got both of them on field, there's a 1,000 point or 1,000 attack and defense difference between yourself and your opponent's monsters, which can be very useful. And it only corresponds with the field spell. So you could have Chaos Daedalus on field, for example, and get the buff from this card, which is super duper useful. Nice card. You do want to see it's a consistency bump. So yeah, definitely a 3 of. Next we are playing double Dream Mirror of Chaos. I'm considering bumping this up to 3, but at the same time, because it's highly searchable and as you've got the ability to tag out one of your fusion monsters to be able to grab the other one straight from the extra deck, I only really want to see 2 of this to be able to activate it twice. It's nice to see it in your opening hand, but you can search for it in an instant. Also, it can dodge things like infinite impermanence, for example. Because it is a quick play field spell, you can obviously use it in the the battle step as well, battle phase, to be able to put more damage on board. So yeah, definitely a 2 of in my opinion. Next, just for some chaos package, we have got the triple chaos space. Nothing needs to be said about that. Consistency. This is probably one of your main draw engines, to be honest, because there's no real other draw power in this deck. So seeing chaos space is always a plus. Your whole deck is light and dark, so you obviously can search for the corresponding light or dark monster. And with Chaos Creator being able to put back some of those monsters, it's really easy to establish this. So triple chaos space. Next up, for some sneaky, saucy, spicy tech, we've got obviously one Call by the Grave, and we're also running one Mass Change 2. Now, like I said, ladies and gents, we run a lot of dark and light types. So being able to go into Masked Hero Dark Lore is definitely something you would like to do. You could actually bump this up to 2 and have it as a bit of a secret tech. Again, it's a quick play spell, so you can use it in the battle phase. But I think Dark Lore is just a nice little addition to the deck to give it a different aspect, basically. So yeah. Next up, ladies and gents, we are onto the traps, and we run 5 traps. We are running triple Dream Mirror Hypnagogia. Now, basically what this card allows you to do is, upon activation, you can actually activate 2 field spells, one on your side of your field and one on your opponent's side of your field. It's a little bit like set rotation in a sense, where you can obviously activate those field spells, and then once you've got that established, if your opponent doesn't play any field spells, for example, Virtual doesn't, you can literally just have those established on field and get all of your Dream Mirror monster effects off, which is super duper useful. Next, we have the one Omni Negate, which is searchable. Depending on which field spell you have on the field, you can negate monsters or spells and traps. Obviously, if you have both on field, you just got an Omnigate for everything. So super duper useful. Only running it at 1 because again, it's searchable, and you kind of want to establish your monsters before you start to set your spells and traps. So again, it's just a one-off. And then finally, we're playing one Dream Mirror Fantasy. So what this card allows you to do is shuffle back in 2 of your banished field spells, one light and one dark, and then you can non-target and banish 1 card on the field, which is super useful. So say goodbye to Dragoon. I actually managed to get rid of Dragoon once using this field spell, and then on top of that, it's got a graveyard effect, which basically it acts as a Crusadia Arborea, by where if one of your monsters was going to be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. So yes, very useful card. Again, just a one-off because you don't want to brick with this going first. Sorry, going second. Next up, ladies and gents, we have the extra deck. So we are running double Oneros, the Dream Mirror Earthling. Super duper powerful card. Again, it's a nice beat stick, to be honest. 3000 attack, 3000 defense. If a monster is tributed, you can just pop a card on field. So it's super duper useful, and it complements nice with its counterpart, which is Oneros, the Dream Mirror Tormentor. Now this is actually a monster negate. It can also tag itself out back into the light version, which is super useful. So if you correctly summon these, you can actually kind of like loop them, especially with your Dream Mirror. Well, to be fair, you can't actually summon off your Dream Mirror full, but being able to tag them out into each other, which is useful nevertheless, and being able to get this back onto the field once you've used the monster negate is useful, because obviously once you start tributing things, you can start popping things on your opponent's side of the field. So just 2 of 2. Again, we only play 2 fusion spells. We're also playing obviously the target, which is Masked Hero Dark Lore. Nothing needs to be said about him. Probably one of my favorite hero monsters. We're also running for the links. We're running 1 Crush Sheep, 1 Relinquished Anima, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, let's move these over, and 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Very self-explanatory. You've got 6 level 1 targets for Relinquished Anima, and it's super useful. I actually took a Boros sword that was made with IP Masquerena with Relinquished Anima, which just basically cleared the board and just helped me just OTK. Nightmare Unicorn and Phoenix, nothing needs to be said about that, and then obviously Crush Sheep just to recur some advantage. So yeah. Next up, we got a couple of targets for our Gamma. So we've got Cyframe Lord Omega, just for a bit of disruption, and Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. So yeah. And then finally, for the XYZ monsters, we are running 1 Time Thief Redoer, 1 Dingisu, the Orchestra of the Evening Star, and 1 number 68 Son of Thunder Sky Prison. Graveyard effects are everywhere, ladies and gents. Now, it doesn't stop everything, but it does stop your opponent from summoning from the graveyard, which is super useful. Dingusu, nothing needs to be said. If you can make it with your 2 rank 8s, or even using your Chaos Creator or your Chaos Daedalus, and non-targeting remove something from the field is useful. And then Time Thief Redoer, just for another little bit of disruption, to be honest, just to be able to just disrupt your opponent's plays. There is a 15th card, which was my IP Masquerena, but I'm not too sure where I've put that. So yeah, that's the plays right there, ladies and gents. Okay, ladies and gents, so what I thought I would do for you is show you a little bit of what this deck can do. Now, it is highly dependent on how you draw, but there is a lot of ways to get to your field spell, and if you really wanted to, you can up the consistency by putting in something like Metaverse or Planet Pathfinder, but typically you don't want to burn your normal summon on that. So I'm going to show you a bit of a combo that I've got here. So I've got a Ikilos, the Dream Mirror Mara, and I've also got a Terraforming. So what you want to do is activate your Terraforming. Let's put this over here to be able to search out one of your field spell. Now, because we've got Mara in hand, we're going to search the light field spell. So we're going to activate the light field spell, then we're going to normal summon our Ikilos, the Dream Mirror Mara. Now, because we've got the field spell on field, which is the opposite field spell, we can actually activate Mara's effect to tribute herself, send herself to the graveyard, and then we can special summon straight to the field our Ikilos, the Dream Mirror Sprite. Now, when she is special summoned, obviously because she's special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, we can activate her effect to add a Dream Mirror card from deck to hand. And in this instance, we're going to add the Dream Mirror of Chaos. So what we're going to do next, ladies and gents, is we can actually set that Chaos, and then during the end phase, our field spell will activate, banishing itself to be able to activate another Dream Mirror field spell from deck, typically your dark one. So you've got a couple of plays here, ladies and gents. So depending on what you got in hand, on your opponent's turn, you can obviously activate the Ikilos to tribute himself to special summon back from your deck, not from your graveyard. I'm just going to show you because it's here. Another copy of your Dream Mirror Mara. And Mara will special summon a Dream Mirror monster from your hand if you have one. Also, because you have a Dream Mirror of Terror on field, you can actually banish monsters from your graveyard as well as use monsters on your field via your quick play fusion spell. So if you was to do that, say we just left my Ikilos Dream Mirror Sprite on field, you can send her to the graveyard and also banish your Mara to be able to special summon your Oniros, the Dream Mirror Tormentor. Now, because Dream Mirror of Terror is in the field spell zone, he actually has a monster negate, which is super duper useful. So you can negate one of your opponent's monster effects depending on where they are in their combo, and then during the end phase, should he survive and you activate your field spell once again, which would banish itself to be able to set another field spell from deck. Let me just find one. You can then activate his ability to tribute himself to the graveyard to be able to special summon the Dream Mirror Urkling straight from your extra deck. No fusion play required. So then if you've got obviously any kind of follow-up or any other Dream Mirror monster on field or in your hand, once you normally and then tribute one, he will get an effect to pop something on field. So that is just one of the typical plays. It is a bit of a slower deck, ladies and gents, and it does take a while for the deck to get going, but it's a very, very interesting mechanic and something that I find that is really, really fun. It might even take your locals by storm one day. It's not going to win a regional or top any kind of like competitive event, but nevertheless the artwork is just absolutely sick and it's just a whole lot of fun to play. So we find ourselves at the end of another video. If you enjoyed this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that wonderful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.